Hey, everybody, this is Eric Mueller, the host of The Eric Mueller Show. Now, you're tuned into the podcast where we dive into what makes successful people tick by unlocking the most impactful tools within their success portfolio. Today, I'm especially excited to bring you an episode that's part of a new mini-series, The Pulse of the Midwest. We're going to spotlight incredible talent coming out of the region that I am proud to call home. We're kicking things off with someone that I go way back with, Pelly, a rising rapper from the heart of the Midwest, Fountain City, Wisconsin, to be specific. Pelly's taken a unique journey from his small town upbringing to viral stardom, all while staying true to his roots. His song Goku became a TikTok sensation, racking up millions of streams and propelling him to new heights, including placements with both the NBA and the NFL, as well as major collaborations with artists like Twista and T.I. Let's head on over to the interview. Pelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Eric. It's great to be here. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me on and kicking this series off to highlight some of the amazing talent and blessings of the Midwest. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Midwest is a special place, right? I mean, we talked a little bit before jumping on here, and just the peacefulness of it, the places that you call home, to be able to come back and have good feelings about it is something I really cherish, and I feel you do as well. And before we really dive deep into this story that you have of, turning challenges into success and blasting into the music industry, we want to know what makes up your success portfolio. Now, if you're new to the show, let me give you some quick background. Just think of an investment portfolio, something that you invest money in and assets into to lay the foundation for financial goals. Here on the Eric Mueller Show, we explore how successful people like Pelly invest in themselves and build that foundation for their success. So Pelly, start us off here. What are some skills, traits, habits, or mindsets that make up your success portfolio?
A lot to dive into there. I will start off by, getting in line with the rhetoric of what creates a success portfolio and investment wise, especially. And I think one of the first things I did as a step towards what became milestones for success was definitely buying my own equipment, putting the power of usage in my hands and not stifling any creative moments that I might find to depend on others to accomplish that with me. So that was one of the biggest things as a younger artist when I was, going to other studios and paying high amounts of money to get things recorded, relying and leaning on other engineers and sound engineers to craft something that I had in my head. I had a vision. I could literally see and hear what I wanted done. And I'm trying to translate that on the fly to someone in front of me. And it doesn't always translate the way you want. Sometimes it can turn out really well. Sometimes you can get, a different angle on it when you're working with other people, but it's not as true to the art form as what you can create. And so I would first and foremost, if anyone is out there looking to make an investment in themselves, invest in the tools that are going to allow you to be yourself the most. And that is number one right off the bat. Grab the tools that are going to not hold anything back when you have a creative thought, a moment, a space, about an hour of inspiration to write this song. I'm going to do it right now. And I got the equipment to do it. So that really set me on a path to have the autonomy to create what I've created in the last few years. But I will premise that by also saying it takes a while to learn, and you have to be patient with yourself while you're getting those new tools in-house. You're starting to learn how they work, how you can work with them. So it's not a 0 to 100 thing right away. Sometimes you got to build up over time. And I definitely did that. But if you have the diligence and patience to do so, you are going to set yourself up for an incredible future if you give yourself those tools. So besides that, that's the physical standpoint of how I kind of started that journey. Mentally, I would say, you have to understand what your why is. Why am I doing this? what do I want to accomplish? That can come right after why, sure. But why? Why do I show up to write music? Why do I show up to express myself in this way? And that was like a mission statement and an ethos that you really have to dig into. And once you do that, it sets up everything else mentally and spiritually to have a through line. My why was, before, I guess, young artists, they'll kind of sit there and they want, money, fame, recognition, attention, sometimes even respect. And that's great. There's a lot of those things. I don't have anything against a lot of those things, but I do think they are incredibly deceptive when it comes to the end game of what sustainability and fulfillment looks like for an artist. For me, when I went in that heart space of myself, and what was my why? It was, I want to create art because I love doing it, because it's therapy for me. I don't care if anybody listens. When I had to really have this mirror conversation with myself, I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to, take these visions, take these sounds that are sitting inside of me and just bring them out into the real world and manifest them. And if nobody listens to them, I don't care. That I had to kind of relinquish that power. You have to submit to that. And once I did that, wow, the amount of power that came to me, the empowerment that came to me, the pool of energy that I had to draw from once I made that mental, spiritual decision with myself was incredible. That's all I can really say. I don't really have the words for it. It goes deeper than just the mental. It is spiritual in a way that once you decide what your why is for doing something in front of you, whatever the career, whatever the task, it could be family, it could be job, it could be, I want to see this building come up in front of me, whatever it is, you have that why, and the how becomes easy, because everything after that is just little Lego pieces you got to move around in your path to get you to where you need to go. So yeah, that was two real big things: getting the physical equipment, and then having the mental fortitude of why am I going to do this? And then I guess also in a spiritual mental sense, never putting limits on yourself. That was a big reason why I ended up being able to work with the opportunities I have now with the NBA in particular, is because I did not put a limitation on what kind of artist I wanted to be. I didn't put myself in a box. I didn't try to get in the world of social media, it is important, and just the internet in general, it's important to kind of build off a niche, because it can make you a brand and it can give you an audience, a lot of money and all this stuff. But I guess my argument would be is don't put any cap, don't put any limiter, don't put in yourself in any type of box, and then the niches will reveal themselves. So that's exactly what happened to me. Is I didn't put any kind of limitation on myself and the type of music I wanted to do or write. I was just very open and inviting of all of it. And I just wanted to gain experience. I just wanted to learn. I just wanted to push myself and see what I could or could not do. And so I wrote a lot of different genres, everywhere from acoustic rap to boom bap to backpack type, more traditional early 2000s, late 2000s. I loved, it was super inspired by the 90s rap. So I did a lot of conscious rap. And then, I got into pop and R&B, and then where the NBA really, hit with the opportunities that we had for sync licensing, there was trap rap fusion. So there was a trap artist named Beat Smash in Italy. Shout out to my man Giorgio out in Lecce, Italy. He's actually in Dubai right now. He's hanging out in Dubai. He's not in Italy, but it's gorgeous out in Dubai, by the way. I've seen all his snaps. Crazy.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's that city's different. But Giorgio and We Are So Dope is actually a group, an Italian producer, Azerbaijan. Sorry, I screwed up.
That was good, actually. Yeah.
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan.
Yeah. Okay. Almost screwed that up. And India. And that was a trio of producers that linked up with Beat Smash. And then they gave me this trap instrumental to work on while I was living in Mexico at the time, in Guadalajara, Mexico. I got family down there, and that migrated from Nicaragua, where my mom's from. So I went and lived there for about 4 months after I graduated college in 2018. And yeah, I was living down there. I was kind of working on some music writtens and things like that, but I was mostly just enjoying my time and playing like semi-pro basketball down there. And I was hitting the beaches and spending time with family, making new friends. But I was writing music at the same time too. And I just remember them giving me this beat, this trap instrumental, just like hardcore trap music instrumental. And I'm like, this is weird. Like, I don't know if I can get into this. But I didn't push it away. It was different for me. It was different. It was weird and different for me at the time as an artist because it was unlike anything I'd ever attempted before. But I was like, all right, I had already, after college, getting out of college, I had set my why, and I had, set those parameters for myself that I wasn't going to put any limitations or have any self-judgments or social judgments upon my music. I was just going to do music. So that's what I did. And I started writing it towards the end of my time in Mexico. And, it was new and different for me. So I was taking a little time to hash into it. When I got back to the US, they asked where the project was at. And I said, hey, I just got back to the US. Let me hit the ground running. So I got back to the US. I was getting resettled in, and actually in the midst of moving all my stuff, my parents' basement was available. So I set up my equipment in my parents' basement really quick and just wrote the rest of it, recorded the rest of it. And it's funny because my dad was upstairs having lunch or something like that. And I went up after I was done recording my verses, and he's like, whoa, why were you yelling down there? You're just sitting there yelling at the mic. And it's just like hard trap beats mixed with I'm going to rap at the top of my freaking lungs type, it was, I'm not even going to spit the verse right now because I don't know how it's going to come across in the pod, but loud voices, right? So he's hearing this from all the way upstairs, and he didn't understand what was going on. But then when I got the track done and I listened back to it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is going to work. Like, I'm bringing a vocal energy to it that I think can fuse with what the instrumental energy was going on. And it worked, and it worked well. I sent it to the guys over there, the producers and my manager, Jordan, and they had nothing but praises for it. At first, they were really excited. They also were hearing the same thing, like, wow, we could actually work this out. So, we landed upon a new fusion that the world really hadn't done much of yet. There are other artists out there that have done some trap rap fusions, but there weren't a lot of them at the time for sure. And it was kind of cracking up a new genre bending. So that was exciting. And then, once we had the song done, we pitched it to a couple labels that Giorgio Beat Smash, he was already pretty well known as one of the best trap producers in Italy at that time. So he had some good connections, people that we could reach out to with the song. And once he did that, there was a lot of piqued interest. We ended up getting it signed to a distribution deal. It went all over the world. It charted in China, like top 25 for a little bit. There was people like Alice in Wonderland and Afrojack reposting it and talking about it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy momentum at the time. And we had a lot of fun having that out in the world, and people really responded and thought it was new, it was different, it was energized. And then I think about a year and a half, or a little less than a year and a half after that got released, the label had it on a website where entities like the NBA or the NFL, the MLB or UFC can go on there, and they can pick out music that is affordable for them to sync, license, and involve in their productions and their game productions. So that's what we did, and or that's where the song was at. And then an NBA team ended up coming by and handpicking our song, and they showed it to their team and they liked it. And then they wanted to use it. And that's where we went from there, started working with the NBA. And it happened. We didn't know the team right away, but it happened to be the Denver Nuggets. And man, am I glad it was, because
what are the odds?
The Denver Nuggets came in for nothing but progress, my guy. Like, the ascension of that dynasty and franchise. I knew Jokic was something special when I was seeing him in his younger days, but I didn't know he was that special until I really, got focused in with the team and saw him in person, playing in person. That man is different. So yeah, that franchise is in good hands as long as he's there. But we'll see. They got one championship down. It's harder to win another one almost, I swear.
Yeah, man, I had the pleasure of seeing him play in person against the Timberwolves actually this past playoffs, and so
yeah,
Wolves didn't win that game, but yeah, that man, he's a beast. I mean, multi MVP, like, and we talked a little bit, and we'll get into more of we'll explore a little bit of the success portfolio you just shared, but we talked about Jokic a little bit with just his very humble mindset that this dude makes tens of $millions a year playing basketball, and then he goes back home. And he's just on his farm riding horses and just like enjoying life. And he's developed, like you're pointing your head right now on the YouTube, he's developing his mental, state and keeping himself connected to his why. And so you shared, those three really, really actionable things for everybody listening. I mean, it's the getting and investing into the tools, which think of it like music, get a microphone, get some production equipment, anything like that. Super easy to think of, whichever your craft is, think of what those are.
Yep.
Find your why. Like Pelly just shared, he looks in the mirror and is like, hey, I'm going to produce these things. I'm going to make these songs because I want to, and it makes me happy and it brings me fulfillment. I don't care if anybody else listens. I don't care if I make a cent from it. I like it and I want to do it. And then to not limit yourself, because if Pelly would have limited himself in a genre, he would not have had maybe this opportunity, or he would have heard that really trapped kind of powerful, production and thought, this isn't for me. This is not the style that I've pre-selected already. I'm going to forgo that. And maybe, who knows? I mean, I would think with your drive and passion, like you obviously come across different opportunities, but the current one you have right now, that might not have happened in the way it did. And so I think the fact that you've shared those aspects of the success portfolio is really, really, I feel like actionable for the people that are listening to think of your own craft. What are the ways that you can take those steps? And Pelly, the kind of second piece to that success portfolio piece is really thinking about what success is. And you and I have chatted a little bit about this, but, success is subjective for everyone. I truly believe it's something where, it's a moving target. Sometimes you don't exactly know what it's going to look like, but you do want to have an idea of where you're going to and what you're moving towards. So I want to ask, what is your current definition of success right now in 2024? And how has it maybe changed over time for you? Or maybe it's remained somewhat similar throughout your life and journey?
Oh, great question. Big question. Lots of answers. So what success is to me now? Success has become a totally evolved version to me now from what it once was when I was younger. When I was younger, I, very much in the worldly secular sense, the social sense, success is about garnering money, wealth, power, control over your own destiny, by having money, by having networks and opportunities, fame, just having attention on you. And there's so much equivocation between attention and fame and money and power and all that, what we have with social media and profiles and brands and corporatization and capitalism. I mean, a lot of great stuff. And we need all of that for people to express themselves and live this American dream or a dream that they have for themselves, no matter where they are around the world, America or anywhere else. But that was kind of the premise of America when it started. It's like, can you come here with a freedom and a vision and just go and not put a limit on yourself and see where you can go? Success has now become, from kind of the conventional ways of thinking about it, that I think are incorrect, that I think are deceptive to so many people. And I do implore people to change their mindset about what success means. And I think a lot of people in our generation, especially Eric, have started coming to the understanding that success is not what we have been getting sold as that it is. It's very different in the actual sense. I think success can show up in so many forms, but it is a powerful physical, mental, spiritual fulfillment that is not fleeting. It does not, it's not fair weather. It doesn't, it's not here and gone tomorrow. Like, you can gain a bunch of money and lose it. To me, that's not success. Money is only as good as what you can do with it. Attention, you can gain a bunch of attention and lose it. Not success, because if it could be taken away from you like that, it's not your success. And success to me now means that you are seeing whatever is on your journey, in your journey, as being meaningful, as being captivating, as being something to inspire you to wake up that morning and being like, I'm going to chase this. I'm going to go after this. And like we were talking earlier, it's about the journey, not the destination. You will reach all sorts of milestones and destinations and be disappointed once you're there. The grass is always going to be greener. There's always going to be a higher mountaintop. There's always going to be someone, something, somewhere that has more, did more, aspired more, whatever. The game of comparison when it comes to success is a dead game. It has no weight on actual reality, and it's deceptive. Actual reality is that you are an individual, beautiful, blessed, powerful individual. Hopefully you've been blessed with the ability to go out into the world and make something of that day, that hour, that minute. And that's your power. And you sit there, and if you can take that, then you can take it with passion and earnest, and you can do something with it and mold it to your, not necessarily control, but to as much of your will as possible. I mean, that's success, whatever that is. If it's 20 push-ups, knock that out. And you get that dopamine hit, and it's real dopamine, and it stays around, and it's not going anywhere, because you know that you just did that, and tomorrow you can knock out 25. For me as a musician, when I write a song, it's kind of like a spiritual journey for me. I go through something very, very deeply mental and spiritual to me, and I get it on text. I get it in a program. I get it recorded. I actually start hearing the sounds and the melodies and the hooks and the verses come across the way I'm envisioning them before the song was even created. And that is such a satisfying journey, because you get to that and it's like getting done with a workout. It's like, in a career sense, it could be, building a good portfolio, whatever it is. You just, in a roundabout way, you have fulfillment of the task. And I think that success comes with daily actions. I think success will change over time. People with families, they wake up and provide for their families and connect with their families and love their families. What's more successful than that to them? I just think it comes in so many beautiful ways, shapes, and forms, that whatever it is for that individual person, wake up, see what's in front of you, do the best you absolutely can, see what your best is today. And then the success to me is seeing what could be better tomorrow. How can I get better? What could I do better? With, God willing, the time and energy that we get to spend on this earth, what can my output be to leave something behind, a legacy, a memory, and hopefully it's one that inspires people. And I'd say that's also a part of success, because the good, positive energy that you put out to others and around you in the world and through your work, that speaks for itself. And people will call that success, legacy of success. But to the person that is doing the action, while it's happening in the present, it's just waking up and doing the next thing in front of you and doing it with all your might and all your will and all your love. And if you can do that, that's success to me.
Yeah, taking those small actionable steps, I feel like is probably what a lot of people can take away from learning from people that have had success in some way. They know it's subjective, but to frame it back and look in the mirror, yourself out there, look in the mirror and think, what is one thing you could do better the next day? Is the
Yeah.
day a win or a loss? It's okay to have losses. Even championship sports teams
Oh yeah.
likely don't go undefeated during their seasons, but they still win at the end. And so,
Invite
yeah,
failure.
yeah,
Invite
exactly.
it.
Exactly. That's how you learn, right? That's how you're able to grow. Failure, I think that's a great point, that expect it to happen. You're not going to
Oh yeah.
plan, like you're not going to say like, "Oh, I'm going to fail," but it's like expect that you will encounter failure
Oh
and
yeah.
you never know what's going to happen. And so,
Nope.
yeah, that's really powerful. I think that's a really good way to, start off talking with someone who's creative like yourself, Pelly, because I really think of your journey as a pretty unique thing. I mean, you grow up in a small Midwestern town. We mentioned it, Fountain City, Wisconsin. Very, very
Yeah.
close to where I grew up in Winona, Minnesota, right on the Mississippi River. Beautiful place. I would say it's the heart of the Midwest, if I'm being honest. We got
Yeah.
it. That's awesome. But I'm curious of how, you and I hung around in middle school, and we were involved in sports, and we had some similar friends, and we shared a friendship with, I'll shout him out right now, my cousin Sam. So we were
Hey.
connected through that. So yeah, Sam, if you're listening, I hope you are. But yeah, you connected
Shout out
Pelly
to
and I
Sam.
probably at the very beginning. So but you grow up, Pelly, in this kind of what we could call smaller, like maybe rural communities. We didn't come from a big city. Um, and you
Right.
get interested in pursuing, in pursuing rap and pursuing music. And in my opinion, and you might maybe disagree, which that would be perfectly fine, but I didn't maybe see it as having a lot of local resources or influences around us to facilitate that
Not at
type
all.
of thing. If you tell someone, you go to a school counselor and say, "Hey, what are your plans after high school?" "Oh, I'm going to go, I'm going to go make music. I'm going to go rap. I'm going to try to, make it as an artist." And they'll be like, "No, you shouldn't do that. Like you're going to fail." Like, I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes those people project their own insecurities onto you. And so I'm wondering
Yes.
how did you stay motivated to pursue rap when we maybe didn't have a flushed full resource or influence externally to do that?
Oh yeah. Oh, you nailed it. An absolute anomaly for sure. Where we're from, no one, not a lot of people attempt music as an industry or career, or some do it as a passion for sure. Um, but yeah, music and our rap, let alone, no way. So
Yeah.
yeah, is very interesting actually, and that's a great question the way you framed it, because I did really have to, even though I established my why when I really went headfirst into creating music after graduating college, I had a signature heart space for my why well before then, because I had to protect who I was and who I knew I was well before I had even fully developed him. People throughout your life will tell you that you shouldn't do this or couldn't do that, or this wouldn't work. My own dad told me to stop doing music. He said that you got to go get a job. You're going to do this. You're never going to make money off this. Now that he sees the money that I can make off this, he's like, oh my gosh, that's insane. But it's, what it really comes down to is you have to protect your own vision, your own dream, your own understanding of yourself, because no one understands you more than you understand you. If you got something inside of you sitting, calling out to you that you want to be XYZ, you want to be this athlete, you want to be this artist, you want to be this entrepreneur, you want to be this kind of business mogul, you want to be this kind of day trader, I don't know, whatever you want to come up with. It could be, you want to be a janitor, you want to be a manager, you could be anything that you want to be. If you really are passionate about doing it, just do it, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because that is where you're going to find the endless amount of energy and power to do so. It's once you have your why, the how becomes easy. So, you know, I knew it wasn't kosher. I knew it wasn't popular. I knew that, rapping around where I came from was mostly looked down upon because they don't even understand hip hop. And it was very rebellious at the time when I was growing up. And yeah, very niche compared to the pop and country music that was so popular around here. And no one's really thinking in any capacity that you could actually make it or do something career wise in those pathways with music, but especially rap at the time. And I didn't know. And I really didn't. I had a feeling deep inside of me long ago that I could be successful at whatever I choose to do. Right. So I had that innate belief in myself. And then when music presented itself when I was around 17, I had a very dramatic, traumatic uh, event. Multiple events happened in my life around that time, right as high school was getting done. And it really allowed me, and like a blessing in disguise, it took some things away from me, but then it also offered and opened up doors that I hadn't seen before. And one of those was I'd always loved writing poetry. I'd always loved expressing myself and writing. So music and I just kind of presented itself when I started freestyling, rapping with my friends and having fun after school, before school, after practice, all that stuff. We were just doing it for fun, and uh, we were emulating so many of the awesome '90s artists like Pac and Biggie and Big L and these Tribe Called Quest, these legends that were doing an amazing job of bringing kids who didn't grow up in that era and then having them understand the roots of hip hop. Nas, all these, just incredible artists that inspired me through and through to be like, oh, they have a voice. They're talking about their stories. They're talking about, uh, what's personal to them and their identity and their characterization. They get to say that on a verse, on a rap song. That's powerful. I love that. Pac was especially like that for me. He really opened my eyes to that. And so I went from freestyling to writing some more stuff down when I got into college. I was, partying in college, having fun, but then I came back to college. I'm trying to, take college more seriously and get in my classes, get my degrees. And so music was always kind of an afterthought, but it was always there. Again, it's like therapy for me. So no matter where I go, what I do, even if I'm not recording music, I'm always writing it. I'm always writing something down. And eventually when post-college hit, I had no excuses, every opportunity in the world to just kind of dive in and be like, okay, let's see where I can take this. And so that's what I did. And throughout all that stage, when I was just freestyling, listening to 90s hip hop and before 80s, 90s, early 2000s hip hop, that was like when Lil Wayne was the best rapper in the world at that time. That era. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah. And Eminem was a little on the back burner, and then he came out of rehab and the accident and everything. He really started going into, but yeah, it was good times. And J. Cole just emerged on the scene, and Kendrick Lamar just emerged on the scene. And now those guys have established themselves as legacy artists. So awesome, that whole era. Just shout out to that era. But yeah, we went from that and got into college and always kept up on my hip hop, and I was writing and I did a lot of freestyling still. But then I got away from freestyling and I really started writing more and more down. I wanted to take it seriously. I was like, okay, how can I, like a math equation, how can I sit there and piece these pieces together, get better at my craft of creating a song? How can I write a hook? How can I write a verse? How can I write a bridge? How can I make those elements come together, not be stale, not be repetitive? And there's plenty of that in the beginning. For everyone out there, if you're thinking about being an artist, you're thinking about writing music, you are going to suck in the beginning. Just accept it. Like Jesus, it's not even a question of if, it's just you're going to suck. And you may have natural talent and ability to like really shine in different areas, but doesn't matter. I mean, you pick up a basketball, you never shot one before. I mean, I'm betting money that you're going to airball in the first 10 shots. Like, it's just how it is. And that's okay, because if you shoot 1,000 more, you might be swishing every single one of them. So that's how life works. Yeah. And I got out of college, and I still had a lot of those voices. And like I said, even my dad's voice, like, okay, you're out of college now. What are you going to do? You know, I said, I want to take music more seriously. And that's part of what I want to be doing out here. And, a lot of people were disparaging me about that. And I'm not going to lie, at times you're sitting in those echo chambers, and you're like, wait, are they right at all? Are they on to something? Should I be paying attention to their voices more than mine? And I will just say right now, that is a deception. That is a pressure and a deception that you should not ever fall into, because if you have a very signature voice within yourself that is telling you to do something, like I said before, do it. Answer the call. Go out into the wilderness and answer that call. It's scary. It's different. It doesn't make sense to other people. It doesn't have to make sense to other people. It doesn't need to. You have to make sense to you. If it's sensible, if it's passionate, then take the next step and see what comes, because more trail will be laid out in front of you as you walk that path. I promise you that. And it's all going to happen at different speeds, at different rates for different people and different opportunities. And you could catch lucky breaks, and you could have challenging times, and that'll all be a part of it. But that's part of the journey, and it'll all make you a better, more refined artist and person in the end. So, yeah, when I got into that, I just didn't let those voices dissuade me from what I knew had to be my next step and what I was capable of. I kept locked in on those spaces day to day. And before I knew it, doors were opening up for me. Good things were happening for me on the music side. And then all of those people that doubted me, all of those people that were, making fun of me or taking pop shots, or my own family that didn't believe in me, I'm getting phone calls and text messages, and, my dad's crying on the phone to me and saying he was sorry. And it was pretty incredible, for lack of a better word. It was just very humbling and incredible to get that kind of affirmation, but I didn't need it because I already knew it was just kind of like they were catching up. And I was like, oh, welcome to the party. Now you know what I'm about. You know who I am a little bit more. Thank you for recognizing. I didn't need you to, but I appreciate you recognizing who I am, and humbling yourself and saying that was wrong of you to say that. But that's like it is for every artist. And I've studied a lot of different artists' lives out here, especially in the hip hop space. Once you make it in any way, shape, or form, I haven't made it or the grand systemic rapper approach like some have. I've made it in niches, and I've had success in my career, and I'm looking to have a lot more now as I release this newer music and get into even more of the work now that I'm currently in the space where I can focus and do it more full time. But regardless of where you're at in that journey, you always have to appreciate the next step, not let anyone dissuade you, and know that it's good things are going to happen, and good things come to those who work for them. That's all I can say.
Yeah. And Pelly, I have to imagine, and I'm sure people that go down a track that's a little bit non-traditional, they're certainly going to encounter we could call them haters, but I don't believe all of it comes from a place of hate. Yeah. A lot of those people telling you those things, it probably comes from a place of love and protection. Like family, correct. It's like, hey, we are genuinely, we want what's best for you. They correct. Want what they believe is best for you. Yes. And that is for you to be healthy and successful with, money to support yourself and those things. But there are some people that are true haters. And I sometimes wonder where they come from and where do they get off, so to speak, from just when someone starts to rise up and you just bash them down or say, this isn't worth your time or something. And part of me thinks, I mean, is it come from a standpoint of, is there hidden jealousy? Is there some type of,
Yeah.
people generally, they don't throw rocks at things that are below them. And so sometimes I wonder, if that's where it's from. But even all that being said, it's difficult to dissuade those things. Like you mentioned, you're in that echo chamber and you start to like almost question, you're like almost getting gaslit thinking,
Yeah.
are they right? Like, should I not pursue this? Or like, I feel so called to it, but am I wrong? And I'm wondering, like, what strategies did you implement to keep your mindset focused on what you knew you were true to? And how did you manage to like, just continue to push through and know that you're like, hey, I guess I just have to show these people. I guess I just have to prove it. And not necessarily because you need to prove it to them, but you're like, that'll be the way they'll understand. If I do it, when I have the track record and this content produced and, something that they can look at and for them it's meaningful, then they'll start to believe it. I'm curious to know about, did you have a certain process or anything you found worked well for you? Because I think there's people listening that are struggling with that.
That's a good question. Well, first of all, I just laughed at the haters for sure. I mean, the haters that are out there,
like big old chuckle.
Like people don't throw stones below them and hate that way. So those people aren't even on your level or even in your vantage point. Like first and foremost, the overwhelming majority are never going to be from a place that's above you in a mentorship role or anything like that, hating on you. People that skew that kind of those kind of emotions and become hateful towards others that are doing something that maybe they don't understand or is different or is awkward to them. Those people just love to talk and hear themselves talk, and they like to be provocative. That's the word I'm looking for. They like as much provocation as possible. So we leave
just stirring the pot, right?
Yep, they like to stir the pot. So we leave those people alone, and I encountered plenty of them, and it was fun running into them because you get like that little burst, and you're like, all right,
you nod at them, right? You're just like, I see you. Yeah,
you say that now, or you don't, or maybe they're hating on me, and they just hear that I'm a local rapper or something, but they don't know any of my accomplishments yet, or how I've been able to build on that. So irregardless, like it's just funny to deal with those type of people. To your bigger point though, when you're dealing with family or with people that like are your close circle and that you trust, I do think there is a lot of weight that comes with those people's voices. Definitely, like I mentioned it before, like with my dad, that was heavy on me because I love and respect my dad. He's like my hero to me in so many ways, and his work ethic is incredible. So I respect his opinion when he was saying like, hey, I think you need to be like working on, a 9-to-5 type of industry. You got to get into that. And he was giving really good advice. And like you said, all of his advice was coming from a place of love and wanting me to be as stable as possible and have a future that was looking bright. So, and I had to work plenty of 9-to-5s and plenty of part-time jobs or full-time jobs in the meantime, coming up to this point. So, don't get me wrong, you got to hustle. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether it was dad giving me the advice or the world forcing that on me, you have to hustle, and you gotta do a good job of building momentum to get yourself the freedom to do more of what you want to do. But yeah, when it came to very close family, friends, family itself, I will say the overwhelming majority was overtly positive and reinforced a ton of encouragement and positivity and support. My mom was really huge in that. She's a musician herself, that she has always been that musician, artistic type of person. And her and I are like almost the same kindred spirit. It's awesome. I'm very much exactly like my mom. So, we're dreamers, we are adventurers, we're travelers, we're expressionists. We love to be a part of that passionately. So, she was always very encouraging. And now my dad is very encouraging, which is awesome. It's incredible to have now that he sees how things have worked for me, and he's truly recognized it as who I am and how I can create work. It's my work. It's not his type of work, but it's my work. And he recognized that now. That's really cool. My friends, my best friends out there, shout out to Colton Merck, Emmanuel Oradola, Xavier Bradley, a fellow rapper X, as he's known in Minneapolis and the cities. Brian Thomas, I just saw him yesterday, one of my best friends for the last 12 years. Chris Adams, I met him in Winona State. He's a producer, an artist, singer, even raps, writes, great artist himself. So I named some of these people because they are like the core of, at whatever point in time, whether it was way back in the day when I was still pretty trash or when I was trying to dig myself out of the trash as an artist, right? You can always get better. You'll always be learning stuff. But yeah, there's stages to this, and my lower stages, those people were always supportive and always coming to bat for me, and always like, even that's such a beautiful thing. I will say to anyone out there that's looking to go against the grain in any way, shape, or form, get a support system, get people around you that are lifting you up and championing you in those spaces. And you really see these people show up. If you drop a song, or if you write a song, or in my case, I'm just giving my examples, or if you have a connection happen, like I got on the radio years ago, oh my gosh, like they're posting and they're telling all their friends and you'll see these people show up in real time for you, and their passion, their love for who you are and what you're doing will just shine bright right in your face, and you'll see it and recognize it, and give those people your time, attention, and energy in a way, and just be dear to them. Hold them tight, because those are the type of people that are really there for you. And they've given me a tremendous amount of validation and energy when maybe I was struggling to find it by myself, or struggling to find it from the world, or struggling to find, because we all going to go through that. We can say all the positive things on this podcast as possible, and reinforce this empowerment, but people are going to go through dark times, and there's going to be times where you doubt yourself, and you're going to be downtrodden, you're going to be down bad, you're just going to be beaten, and you feel like you can't get up. And that's when it's important to have these types of people around you, when they can remind you of who you are. Because when you struggle to remind yourself of who you are, and I've gotten much, much better at this in my later age. I'm 31 now, and I'm looking to make my 30s better than my 20s ever were, because I didn't know what was up and what was down, and who I was, and all this stuff. But it is so important to know who you are and remind yourself of who the F you are when you wake up in the morning, and how you're going to go about your business and get things done. And we're all going to struggle on certain days and certain seasons to remind ourselves of that. And that's when these people are more important than ever, and we do that with each other. I show up in their lives to be that for them as well. And I think that's the reciprocal energy that a community, a tribe that you can build with people, especially as young men. I think it's more important than ever, the mental health struggles that we're dealing with in the world today with young men, the amount of young men that feel lost and disenfranchised in this world. And I'm talking about the 99% of us, of young men out here. We need to pick each other up in our failures, and boast each other in our successes. When you meet those people and the energy's tight, yeah, man, keep those people close, because that's a great wave of force, like a surfboard, man. And they'll just take you from point A to point B. Sometimes you're like, whoa, I needed to get here. Thank you. Whoop, I'm up now. I'm awake. And so, yeah, for everyone out there, across the board, no matter who you are, no matter what gender, though, like, it is so important to have a community and to have a tribe of brethren, a group that is going to be ride or die for you in those times, those down times and those good times. And now I get to take those friends to the NBA stadiums with me, and they get to hear my voice in front of 20,000 people, and they, freaking out on their Snapchat and Instagram and like, oh, it's my boy. I always knew he'd be here. Like, they get the reward too, because you keep working and everyone gets to share in each other's success. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with the right people, right? And you find out as the years go on who those people really are.
Yeah.
And I feel like you find out when you're in a moment of struggle, when you're in a moment of hardship, you really find out who the people are that you can count on and trust and will be there for you. And you mentioned some, incredible other talented individuals from our region. And actually, you mentioned Emmanuel. I actually worked with Emmanuel at a Walgreens in Winona during one summer. So I remember him. And so, yeah, shout out to you, Emmanuel. Hopefully you're doing well, my friend.
That's good.
And yeah, I mean, Pelly, the Pulse of the Midwest miniseries, this is really like, I want to shine a spotlight on this incredible talent that we have in the Midwest and the place we call home. And you being in the music industry, what do you feel is the pulse of really the music scene in the Midwest? I mean, we could focus, narrowly on the southeastern, Minnesota, southwestern, Wisconsin area. We could expand it to the Twin Cities, market. But, wherever you feel like you want to go with this, how do you think the culture that we have here shapes artists like yourself? And do you think we're moving forward or backward in that, process with growing, much like you could think of like a spot where all the Hollywood stars go, you just think of LA. It's like, is there something that we could do to make this area be a place where people are like, hey, this is where creatives can thrive, actually. You're not going to get those naysayers as much here anymore. We've almost shifted it to become a bit more of a, cultivated spot where you can create and feel valued as a creator, that it is a legitimate career.
Great question. Yeah, that's a great landscape to go through. First, I want to shout out a couple other people that I forgot up in the cities.
Oh, yeah.
Calvin Johnson, Tygan Kennedy, my boy Motion Tygan, amazing artist. Both those guys held me down since day one. I met them a little later in college, but yeah, artists I work with, guys I work with up there, also incredible people. And they build the culture and the scene around here that we're going to get into. So as far as that goes, I think people will give you a lot of different opinions and a lot of different vantage points of what and perceptions of what they see the culture being, especially like, if you're talking the Mecca as far as a city goes in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or Milwaukee. Chris Adams, who I mentioned before, he lives in Milwaukee. He holds it down there, does a lot of music work around that area. And he tells me about the culture up there. X, Tygan, Matt Allen, Nerd D, shout out to him up there. Guy I collaborate and work with, good friend of mine, awesome guy. These are the type of people that are on the ground building that culture and perceiving that culture. Now, I've gotten mixed messages from all of them. I'm not there as much. I also didn't grow up in that area. So, they tell me a lot, that some positive and some negative. I think there is kind of this perception to what you were kind of leaning towards, that the Midwest isn't a place. It isn't a Mecca. It isn't a nurturing place for artists to create themselves, connect, and get noticed. Now, I have been of the mindset for a few years now that location does not matter anymore as much as it ever has in this industry or other industries. I think location is a misnomer. It's just going to be such an afterthought in the world that we are emerging into, especially when it comes to AI's development and all of the technology we're about to get into, but really the power of the independent artist to be able to do what I did, be in a smaller area, smaller cities, smaller towns, or even if I was in big ones when I was working there, I was doing work from wherever. Now, I know a lot of people that have garnered a lot of success around the Midwest area and then move out to California, LA, they move out to New York, they do that kind of thing to connect more with the environmental spaces that are out there. I'll say this. I've had a lot of friends that have done that. I've had a lot of friends that come back from that situation. It's very overly saturated. There's a lot of vultures. There's a lot of snakes. There's a lot of people that just are, there's such a crabs in a bucket, crabs in a barrel, whatever the saying is, or just
Yeah.
people are just on each other, scratching each other, trying to get out this bucket, man. And it's chaos, and it's also just very immoral in so many ways. And I think it really leads down that path, and people get lost in the sauce. You get lost. Your creative energy doesn't even go to that space anymore because you're caught in the cultural chaos of it all. So my recommendation to young artists, for sure, I mean, if you want to go experience those things, I will just say that it's not the romanticized land that it was decades ago. It's very different now in spaces like LA and New York and these like music city meccas. Even Nashville. Nashville has become so popular for music, and I've heard a lot of change go on over time, but people really like Nashville. I will say that even like hip hop is picking up there. So I haven't been there. I'm gonna have to go visit.
You got to go there. Yeah.
Got to go to Nashville. But I say that all to say is that I don't see it as necessary to be in one of those locations to create success and create connections in a way that can make you incredibly successful still. I think it can help. I think you can find certainly places and people to network with that could maybe get you in doors that you wouldn't have been in before. I totally see that as being valid. But I do think that it's a place that is better served to people who have already established a foundation for themselves, and then they can go use that establishment as kind of like, hey, give me my ID card, like get me in the party. I'm a part of the club, or it'll get you into certain circles and spaces that you can't get into when you're starting so low at the bottom. So I would say that those bigger areas where people tout as like, the capitals of music and all that, I'd say you should build an established foundation of rapport in the music industry, and then maybe go work in those spaces. That'd be much more productive from an energy standpoint and output input. As far as the Midwest goes, I think what we're cultivating here can be a great culture for music and hip hop. I think music for sure, what I've experienced, like I just got done with a mini tour around the Midwest. I did like 5 locations. We did Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Illinois. So we did 5 states, 5 locations, 5 nights. And I saw a lot of different versatility when it comes to the mindsets of people in hip hop, when it comes to the mindsets of people that want to come out for shows. People really love connecting at shows and music and doing these artistic things in the Midwest, arguably just as much as those people out there. And in fact, many of the people I met were from New York or LA. They actually moved out of those spaces to come to the Midwest and mess with us. And that's awesome because America has become, the U.S. has become way more of a melting pot. People have moved around states in our generation a lot more fluidly. And I think we're seeing kind of a renaissance of that, where it's just not going to matter as much where you're at. I think there's more the romanticism, the mystique of those other places. But I do think that on the ground, people in real time, person to person, are building and cultivating cultures that are going to advance and be here for years to come. I think Minneapolis, it took a big hit when it came to, a few years ago with Rhyme Sayers kind of going underwater and under the shadows a little bit. I do think that there's a gap right now in Minneapolis, St. Paul, for people to step up in music and kind of make headway on their own niches. I think, Matt, what he's doing, Nerdy, he just got rated the best performer, a year and a half ago in Minneapolis, best live performer in Minneapolis. He just got nominated for an Emmy. He did the Minnesota Orchestra hip hop show. I mean, that's incredible. I got to witness all this myself. Like, he's pioneering things that no one's done before there, right? So there are going to be pioneers in these places. I'm not as familiar with Chicago, that area, but I do know that, there's plenty of music that's trying to come around or come out of that area. Um, and I guess I'll just say, if you just start where you're at, wherever you're at, we all have this technology. You can start showing who you are. Who you are will attract others and who they are. And before you know it, you could have a pop-up culture in a smaller city that you don't even think about as being for music, but then there it is. Like Winona, for sure, Midwest Music Fest, the Bluegrass Festival, the amount of music that Winona has built up in the last 10 to 20 years. I mean, it's famous for people coming through and doing this kind of music. So most of that is in the bluegrass and like rock styles and stuff. But no, hip hop, I think we can do it, and we can do a lot of different things. But it's going to, in the hip hop genre specifically, to my heart, I think is the majority of people are going to be able to connect with it. The more honest, and positive people are about hip hop. I think you can tell a lot of negative stories in hip hop and be really negative in certain ways. But when you're speaking truth to power, words to power, the spoken word is very powerful. Rap verses can be very powerful and very in your face, very direct. I think it's more people would participate in hip hop if they keep to the morality of what music means as a powerhouse and its ability to reach people. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, Pelly, and it kind of really brings it full circle back to what we first started talking about, where you mentioned invest in the tools that you need for your craft, invest in where you are, find your why, and don't limit yourself. So you basically perfectly tied a bow on that whole, success portfolio piece that we opened up with you can start where you are right now, and you don't necessarily need to go to a certain location. The grass isn't
Correct.
always greener. And so I think that's really helpful for both myself and anybody out there listening, that you might think that you need the location change, but what you might really need is a change in the location of where your mindset is. And so
100%.
Pelly shared exactly like how he developed that and how he was able to cultivate that over time. And, he shared very openly that, in your 20s, some of you out there might be in your 20s right now. Pelly shared he's 31, I'm 32. I would certainly echo what he said, that you sometimes you don't know what you're doing in your 20s. You're getting through college, you're going through, certain friendships, relationships. You're kind of really starting to find yourself to begin with. And so when you get into the later part of your late 20s, early 30s, you might actually really find that you're in a totally different spot mentally. And I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a blessing to get older. And I think that, yeah, it's really inspirational though, what you've shared, Pelly, with how you've come to where you are creatively, where you are mentally, where you are spiritually. And I want to close with asking you, what's next, Pelly? With a successful run thus far and reaching, collaborations with NBA, NFL, having, being able to open up for artists that people would recognize, such as T.I., like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Where do you plan on taking your music for the years to come? And how do you plan on building on this momentum and keeping your fans engaged, building new fans, really just skyrocketing into the stratosphere? I'm here for it. I'm so excited. I know I've messaged you in the past and I'm just like, man, this is amazing. Like, I'm listening to this while I'm running. I'm like, you're a baller. Like, this is awesome. And so I will always, I'm never going to be one of those haters that says, don't do it, or like, what are you doing, or anything like that. And so building people up, I love what you're doing. I want to hear what's next.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that, and that summary and that love from you. Man, there's a lot. There is a lot coming from me in all sorts of different stylings of music. My best music hasn't been heard yet. I'll just say that, or a lot of it hasn't. I think that, some of the trap rap that I put out recently, doing it for the teams, it reflects a lot more of my ability now as an artist, for sure. But it also is very specific in what we're trying to do there, stylistically, energy wise. So, and I'm working directly with a producer, and it can be a little bit different of a process. What is next? After getting done with this summer, we did the tour. doing the festival with a lot of the OGs that you mentioned, Twista, T.I. Man, we had Young Jock. Young Jock is hilarious. That dude.
Oh man,
Mike
throwing it way back, man.
Way back. Yeah, they're awesome. After getting done with all that, now getting resettled into my current environment, I am just looking to just flood from all of my old music. I have probably 3 or 4 albums worth that are sitting there from the last 4 years or so. I've gone back and forth with does all of it need to be heard? I'm still kind of cutting in and out of, should I, this is 60% done, 70% done. Is it worth getting that 30-40% and then getting it out? So I'm in the process of that right now. I do think that, you can't have paralysis by analysis. You do have to just at some point act and just get things out. And it's better to have action than no action, for sure. So that's more of my mindset now, is that no matter what happens in this next stage, I'm just going to start getting out content, creating content, getting much more vocal and visual and present on social media and places that people can find me, posting my music, releasing my music, doing collaborations, getting into sync licensing is a big thing. Obviously, I do that with the NBA and NFL already, and Les Mills and other places around the world. There is an incredible market to be had with sync licensing, because a lot of larger artists work for larger labels. They have much larger price tags when it comes to using a song. I mean, you $25, $30, $50,000 to use this song one time type thing. Like, hey, I'll take
that's
5.
astronomical. Yeah,
Right,
yeah, that's right.
I'll take 5. I'll take 10. Like, it just you can really, and these companies, they care about what the music is bringing energy wise to whatever they're trying to present. So they don't care if you're Kanye West or Pelly. They don't. I mean, literally, the Nuggets had between I think $10,000 per play Kanye West song, and instead they picked mine. Right. So they had that choice. I'm glad they did. Right. So, but I think that's where the industry is shifting, is corporations are going to save money and be profitable any way they can. There's so much more music and artists out there to choose from. Now, yes, the popular music that hits with the larger fan bases that are already heard and know the lyrics and all that, those are always going to be there, and those artists are always going to get synced. But now there's a ripe opportunity for artists like me and others that are in this amateur going professional stage, building their professional stage, to be synced and have sync licensing deals with video games, streaming platforms, Netflix. I mean, the amount of streaming platforms helps that out. How these algorithms on social media and TikTok, and the algorithm that now YouTube has, and all sorts of Facebook, IG, all this, they also have an incredible opportunity to just connect with people on the fly, wherever you're at. Put out a song, get out 15 seconds. If it hits, they like the chorus, cool. Then people are hitting. I mean, Goku, Naruto, that just opened up a whole anime audience of tens of millions for me around the world, because people like what I like. Oh my gosh, go figure. If kind of go to the things that you like. I like sports and I like anime, and I'm a big nerd. Okay, so I'm going to write about it in my music. And I did that and experimented with that. Again, not holding yourself back, not limiting yourself, and boom. Both of those things have now given me a great opportunity and great success that I want to build on. Like, much more success to come in those spaces for sure that I want to build on. But the fact that those doors even opened was just proof of concept to me. Like, oh, that's how it works. Just, if you like something, you should be willing to bet that there's going to be other people, even if it's a really weird or niche thing, that probably like it. Like, you love collecting gemstones. There's a lot more people out there that love that than you think. There's going to be those types of groups and niche audiences that you're going to be able to find. It's the internet, man. Like, it is the biggest thing to ever be with human beings and connections. So, throw your line out there because it's a big freaking pond. That's all I'll say. And um, yeah, man, what's going to be next is I'm going to be, again, not putting limits on myself. I have acoustic rap songs coming out, pop rap songs, R&B rap songs. I'm even writing some music in Spanish now, and I'm mixing Latin and English to bring some of my cultural flair and my cultural roots to it, and Spanish, and becoming fully bilingual in Spanish, fully fluent, and then doing more in involving Spanish lyrics is something that I really want to get better at in these next couple of years. I love Latin culture. Hispanic culture is just something that's always been close to my heart. And being half Nicaraguan, my mom, where she came from, and she's just been a great influence on my life as far as culturally, musically. So I really want to dive more into that. So I'm excited about that. That's like working on that's one particular album. It's like an Afrobeat album that I'm doing a Latin fusion on. So I'm just bending all sorts of things together that I don't think people are going to expect at all. And it's going to be really cool, I think. And that's how I did with the trap rap. I have an anime inspired hip hop album coming out pretty soon here in the next few months. That's the goal. Got to get that done. And then I got another one that's kind of already getting built in the background. And then personal albums, I have one called The Law of Vibration, LOV, that talks a lot about past relationships, kind of breaks down very much all of the thoughts and feelings that I had in my past almost 2 relationships now. And yeah, there's just all sorts of different stylings to get out there. And I think people are going to be really surprised and pleased by where they can kind of connect with me and what they resonate with. I know not everyone's going to resonate with all of this music, but I think that I'm going to have, I'm trying to be such a Swiss Army knife with it that I think somebody's going to be able to find something in my discography out there that they can vibe with. And it's not going to be exclusive to any one group or one person. And who knows, maybe at some point as an artist, I will start refining myself and my process in more of a very particular way. But I am having so much fun learning and expanding myself and not giving myself limitations and doing more singing and refining and changing how I'm doing my cadences, my rap verses, or what even beats that I'm attracted to. I just expand. That's my mindset with being an artist. Just trying to dip into as many things as possible and see what's on the other side of that, because sometimes it's really cool. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it sucks. And you're just like, all right, cool. I learned something. But most times you're taking something very positive away from it, whether it's into the next song or that actual song is dope and you're going to release that at some point, or someone out there is really going to mess with it, or a group of people are. So that's kind of how, Goku happened in particular. I love Goku. I love Dragon Ball. I've been watching it since I was a kid. I saw someone made a beat inspired by that. Then I was inspired to write a song based on that. And then it was about like, my girlfriend and I breaking up at the time and me leaving out of the country after college to go do this. And it had like a real story inside of it. And other people really liked it. At first, I put it out and it didn't have any like real traction or anything. I don't know, a few thousand plays. But then COVID hit, 2020, lockdowns happened. A lot of people were spending time on TikTok and things like that. They found the song on TikTok when it was out there, and then it just blew up on TikTok. People started sharing it as one of the sounds. I don't know. I think it had like 200,000, 250,000 shares or something as a sound on TikTok. And that's tens of millions of impressions out there. So then you got a lot of people listening to your music all of a sudden. So yeah, I guess don't limit yourself, put yourself out there. Always expand. Like back to the former topic that we were talking about, I used to be thinking that, if I was just in this place, or if I just met this person or whatever, then that was going to be my lucky break, or that was where I was going to find this pool of energy that I can draw from and all that. No, It's a lie. Like you can do it is about your mindset, your heart, your spirit. I don't care if you're in the middle of the woods or if you're on top of a skyscraper. If you got something to do that comes from inside of you, you do that and you are going to attract what comes back. And it'll be beautiful and it'll be way more fulfilling and actually have longevity versus something cheap, something that's handed to you, something that somebody can take away from you. You're not going to find what you're looking for there. And for sure, I've moved around the world or even around the States and different cities. Everything is going to have its pros and cons for sure, but don't expect to show up somewhere and like your problems, your demons, your bad habits, all those things don't follow you. They're all coming with you. All right. So you better wake up to the reality that when you get up in the morning, you got to handle business in a different way. And it's got to come from in here, in a totally different way. It's not about where you're at. Now, where you're at can give inspiration and give different weather and all that for sure, but that's not what's going to make or break you. I promise you, it's not what's going to make or break you. Find where you are most passionate and most inspired, and 100% of the time, I guarantee you, it's going to be found right inside of yourself. So wherever you're at, whatever you're about to do, whatever you want to do in life, get after it with all that you are, and everything else will be bestowed onto you. So, and yeah, and put something above you. Your ego isn't the most important thing in the world. You're not the most important thing in the world. There's a creator that created us. We didn't create ourselves. We're creations that were created, and we have a creator. So look above yourself in whatever that you want to truly tap into there. For me as a Christian, that's God. That's Jesus for me. And as a Christian, I find now in my life, and that didn't used to be that way. And I think my ego was so far ahead of my soul, my spirit, that I was always tripping on it. I was always tripping on myself. Don't let your ego get in the way. Get it out the way. Whatever way, shape, and form you have to do that, that's what's going to be closest to source. That's what's going to be closest to God. That's going to be where you're going to be found most powerful. So you can get your ego out of the way. You can use your ego, but don't let it use you. What else? Why is it escaping me? The mind is a powerful master, but the mind is a powerful servant, but a terrible master. Who said that again, Eric? Do you remember? You know the quote I'm talking about?
I've heard it. I don't remember who said it though.
Gosh, dang,
I'll be completely honest. We'll have to look that up.
Why is it slipping my mind? But anyway, I could talk and say all the positive things, but by and large, man, it's just the next level is inward, not upward. I'll say that.
Yeah, and speaking of looking inward and where to best find yourself, I'm sure a lot of people listening right now, Pelly, are wondering how they can find you, how they might connect with you after this interview and connect with you, talk with you, maybe hear your story. Maybe there's Alan Watts.
I got Alan Watts. That was
Alan Watts. Okay, we'll quote that. We'll quote tagline that.
Yeah, I had to shout it out.
You got it. It came to you. See that you found it.
Yeah.
I started talking about finding yourself. You find the quote. You find the guy.
I found it. There it is.
We spoke into existence. So
yeah.
So yeah, Pelly, I mean, if someone is listening and they're really thinking, hey, I want to connect with him, I want to learn more about him, I want to reach out to him, what would be the best way for someone to do that? I'm guessing it might be Instagram, but do you have any other channels, or maybe go through management or something with the company?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I do have my link tree there. It has basically everything. Jordan, my manager, we've laid everything out that we've done with 12th House the last couple of years. Every interview, every new song, all of the streaming platforms that you can go to and find me on is Pelly, Pelly. You can find me on any streaming platform that way. Look for my face because there are some posers out there that have tried to take my name. Don't listen to them. No, I'm sure they're cool. They're cool. A couple more are cool. I've listened to a few of them, but there's only one Pelly. All right. And Pelly Music is what my handle is for most things. Pelly Music on IG, Facebook, Um, I will say Linktree is probably going to be the easiest way. On Instagram, you just go to that, Pelly Music, at Pelly Music, and you're going to find me there. And that would be the most centralized way to probably find everything I'm linked to. Spotify, Pelly, that's where most of my music flourishes. Apple Music as well. But then there's all the other streaming platforms. YouTube is a big one that I need to. I really need to rehash my account and get a lot of my current content on there and be more active on there. But I will do that, and that's something that has been on my mind. YouTube is a really good resource as well. But yeah, obviously all the playlisting ones like Spotify and Apple Music, they're really efficient for artists like us. So yeah, Instagram, go find me there, Pelly Music, and you'll see my link tree. Click in that. Facebook, well, Meta now. And I think I'm going to work on a little bit of a website at some point too. That'd be nice. Get some kind of landing page website that I can get people to. I also want to start. I have a ton of merch ideas and really inspirational, significant merch that I've been wanting to make for a while. I just think that even well outside of anything music, people would really attach to and attract to. So I want to get that rolling at some point. Maybe that'd be a good fusion. Have a website where you can find my music and merch and even philanthropic stuff that I do. I want to work in communities to help people in different ways. So yeah, trying to centralize some of that right now. So that'll all be coming. 12th House Entertainment is going to be landing pages. You can find us and things that we're doing as well. So 12th House ENT, 12th House Entertainment, you can find those as they launch. And that's kind of where we're at, brother. I mean, we're still at a jump off stage of sorts. You know, there's been transitions in my life. I just got out of the corporate world. I was working there for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I was took a lot of my focus. I was very successful there. It was, you know, it was made money, all this stuff, but there was always what I wanted to come back to, and this is the perfect time for me in this transition, getting out of leaving the corporate world and coming back to my roots. But as this man that I've been able to grow into and develop, and this artist now that I really get to tap into and develop even more, I'm really excited because who knows what's going to happen. And that's the most exciting part about this whole thing for me, man. In this industry, what I love, my favorite part about this industry is you just don't know what's going to happen. I get a phone call from whoever tomorrow. I could get an email there. I could have a collaborator that wants to do this with me. I could get a show offer there. It's so much fun because you just wake up and you just don't know what's about to happen. But when you start kind of building some momentum and things start happening, man, that's the exciting part. You just get to keep putting out content, being yourself, and whatever bobs and weaves and comes into contact with you at that point, cool. This is it. I'm here for the ride. This is going to be fun. So let's get it. 2025, baby. About to hit it.
Yeah, we're just about to head into it. As time of recording, we have December 7th, 2024, December 10th, 2024. And so, yeah, I mean, Pelly, this has been fantastic, dude. It was so great to catch up with you, learn your story, you know, just kind of throw back some old memories and see your face too. It's been a minute. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of really cool things coming through the pipeline for you. I'm really, really excited to see them happen. Love following what you're doing. I think the Pulse of the Midwest miniseries kicking it off with a bang here. You know, got Pelly on here coming up, you know, showing us how he's changing the, you know, scene of the hip hop industry really with his own flair and some of the things he shared, blending, you know, some Hispanic type lyrics with, you know, you come into this with a Nicaraguan background and you have, you know, just all these different things that you want to share with the world. And I know you almost probably feel a little restless because you're like, God, I get so excited about it. And so, you know, website and merch, that all sounds fantastic, Pelly. We'll tag everything that we have there in the show notes. How do you get to your Spotify, how to find your music, how to connect with you. And we really, really cannot thank you enough for being on here, man.
Oh, I should shout out too, like, since we talked a little bit about the sync licensing and the sports world stuff, I do have current songs that were put out for this season. So I got one with the Denver Nuggets called Redemption. You can go check that out on any streaming platform, Pelly, Pelly, Redemption. And then with the Washington Wizards, we have one called Game Time. There's a Wizards version and one called Rehearsed. There's a couple versions out there. You can listen to the Wizards version if you want to see the one that's playing in the stadium there. That's Game Time. Again, Pelly. And then the Houston Texans are playing the one at their home games called Bodied that we started originally with the Nuggets. So those are the 3 songs in circulation in the pro teams right now. So if you want to go check out what they're playing and what they're warming up to and tip-off song and kickoff song, you can go check that out.
Yeah, and I can attest that those songs are awesome. I listen to those songs. You're running, it's just they hype you up. Especially Body. That thing is, man.
Just go.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Get your blood pumping, and yeah. Well, Pelly, man, thanks again so much for being on here, kicking off the Pulse of the Midwest miniseries with the Eric Mueller Show.
It was a pleasure.
We look forward to following your journey, man, and we'll catch up with you soon. All right.
It was a pleasure, my guy. Thank you so much, and shout out to everyone out there. Stay up, keep doing you. Do your thing, do it better than ever, and don't hold back, all right? Much love. Midwest mini-series, kickoff.
Midwest mini-series. Let's go.